Welcome to the College Basketball Pub Hub, Pub Sports Radio, Saturday, February 18th. Ian Cameron back after missing last Saturday. Good to be back with my guys, Conor, Mack, Daby Cab, ready to break down the Saturday card. Huge slate. Let's get right to it. We got Boston College, Florida State to get things rolling. We got Florida State 3.5-point home favorites. 142 is the total in this game. Florida State's not playing well. I'll admit that. 3 straight losses. They've gone 5 straight without covering. But this does feel like a bounce back spot a little bit, at least in my mind. Boston College has lost 2 straight in blowout fashion to NC State and Pitt. If you look at series history, Florida State has won and covered 4 to 5 times in a row when hosting Boston College. In the last 2 years, they put up 80 and they put up 93 in utter annihilations over Boston College here at home. So I do think this is a bounce back spot. I certainly would lean to the lay in the points here with the Seminoles in this game. But I think the better way to go, for me at least, and I've been doing this a lot when I'm a little uncomfortable with the team laying the points or taking the spread. Look at the team total, and the team total for Florida State's only 72.5. I think they could get over that number, especially when you factor in that Boston College's defense has fallen apart. They've given up 77, 92, 76, 77 in the last 4 games. Florida State has scored 80 and 93 in the last 2 home games against Boston College, and their team total is only 72.5, Florida State. So I think they can go over that team total. I like that for the Seminoles in this game. Conor, what do you think here?
Shout out to our guy, Real Deal Prime, the grinder, the $5 dono, my guy. Yeah, it seems like all the money here is on Florida State. This line hasn't moved. Boston College is hit and miss, and you talked about their offense just hasn't been good the last few after that good win against Virginia Tech. Because I'd lean over in this game, but they got to be able to score. But Florida State's defense is bad. I mean, they should get to 70. I think. In the end, I didn't want anything to do with it. So maybe your look on the team total is solid. Right now with Florida State, I don't want to be laying any, so I am off.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm on the team total, because I don't want to lay points too much, but I think the team total can get there. What do you think here, Daby Cab?
Yeah, I think you got, both you touched on it. I don't hate that team total. I'm not laying points with Florida State. Like C-Mac just said, I mean, they've gone winless against the spread in their I know you said they lost their last 5 games, but they also haven't covered the spread in their last 5 games. They're coming off one of their worst fucking games of the year. I don't know. They should be I want to check the health of Cleveland also. I've got something here that says he might still be on the sidelines today, and that's a big deal for Florida State. So if he's on the sidelines, that makes a difference. Might be why the line's not moving. Yeah, I think this could be a bounce back spot for them, but this is just a team, like I said, with their losing streak, and they've also lost 5 in a row at home. I'm just not ready to lay a number with them, but I don't hate that team total.
Yeah, Leonard Hamilton was saying they held him out of the last game because they just wasn't feeling like he could move well enough off that injury he's got, but with the intention that he'd be back today, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So definitely wait and see on that, because Matthew Cleveland's a 14-point per game player and very important offensively for this team.
Yeah, huge guard score for both teams. Just mentioned it, good to the over. Boston College, the last 20, 15 and 5, and both have been solid over teams all year. I think 16 and 11 for both of them, right around it.
Yeah, definitely. I'd lean over, but I want to zone in more on the Florida State total for me in this one. And thanks to the for Real Deal Prime for the dono. Appreciate it very much. All right, Notre Dame, Virginia now. Next up, we've got this is a early start as well. We've got Virginia 12-point home favorites, 129 at the total. I think Notre Dame once again, just in this big dog role. I mean, I was able to cash a ticket with them at Duke earlier this week. I thought it was just too many points for Duke to be laying, and they only lost by 4. Notre Dame, wire to wire, point spread covered. I think they might be worth a look again here. I mean, Virginia, this is a lot of points. Let's keep in mind too, Virginia just barely won at Louisville, a bad Louisville team. They were laying 16 in that game. There's no more analysis to add than that. I just think it's a few too many points. I would look at the Notre Dame side if I were to bet this game. Conor, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I bet Notre Dame too, but I'm not going to bet this basketball game, period, with Saturday slate like this. Virginia playing good basketball. They're a team I don't want to lay a number like this with. Notre Dame, all of a sudden you play Duke. Yeah, they went under in that game when I thought that game could have gone over. I didn't play it, but I thought it would. I'd still lean under with Virginia here. I think they just slow it down so much, unless they're just going to have a field day scoring. So I'd look under the 130.
Looking under the total, Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, that's Virginia they don't score. It's not what they do to win games. They play defense. They have just the 12th rated scoring offense in the ACC. They're not really good on the boards. They're 14th in conference total and rebounding. They're just 9th in 3-point defense, so they do struggle from the perimeter, and Notre Dame can shoot it from outside. If there's one thing Notre Dame can do, they can shoot threes. I think that obviously Virginia wins this game. I think it might be a chance to take a lot of points with Notre Dame and get a spread win. I don't think Notre Dame wins the game, but I think you can cover the spread with Notre Dame here. I'm not betting it. Like C-Mac said, we got so many great games. I've got plenty of action. I don't need to bet this game. But, yeah, I'd lean Notre Dame also.
You mentioned great games, Cap. We haven't hit a great game yet, but this is one of the better games finally coming up here. Illinois and Indiana coming up here in the Big Ten, an early start affair. We've got Indiana here, 6-point home favorites at Assembly Hall, 142 being the total in this game. I mean, it's become so clear and evident in this conference that you're almost at the point where you're pounding your head against the wall trying to bet some of these road teams in the Big Ten. I mean, it's just been such an unbelievably strong home court conference. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the numbers for home teams. Once again this year, for the second straight year in the Big Ten. A Big Ten conference that the more I look at it, the more it's just there's not really a phenomenal, outstanding, dominant team in this conference this year. Everyone's got flaws. Everyone's got holes. We thought maybe Purdue was that team. We're finding out maybe that's not the case right now with their little swoon. Illinois had missteps. What the hell was that? The loss of Penn State, giving up 93 in the last game. This is a tough conference to really get a read on. I mean, I think Indiana, if I had to play this game, I'd lay the points. But I don't love the idea of fading Illinois off a bad game because they've been responding well after a bad game. They lost at home to Indiana. They beat Ohio State and covered after that. They lost to Iowa. They beat Rutgers, won and covered after that. So, and it is actually a revenge spot here for Illinois because they lost at home to Indiana earlier this year. So it's a really tricky game. There's reasons to like Illinois +6 here. You really want to go against Indiana at home. They've just been dominant here, win and cover every single time it seems they play on their home court. So a tough game, really is. Not much to say other than pass. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a pass for me because I think it's you take Indiana. It's just do they cover here? The 6. I think the line's pretty sharp. I really don't want to be on it. I looked at this total though. I thought it was a little heavy. Indiana's really slowed their pace down. I think they've gone under in 4 of the last 5. This first meeting right at here where it opened, 144, it's come down a little bit to 142. What was it, 80-65? And the 2 teams in the Big Ten that can score at times are these 2. So I don't really love it, but that's where I'd look to the under here. I think it can just 2 different teams that if they score well, it will get over. But I think it's too many points here. I'd look under.
Under the total. Yeah, I don't mind that. What do you think here, Cap?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game to live bet because I think this game's going to have a lot of swings to it. And I think if either side, I don't care which side it is, if either side drops down big early, I think it'll be a good opportunity to live bet. This is going to be an important game. It's going to show us kind of what we might want to expect from these teams in March. Their first meeting, Indiana ran away with it. They shot 61.8% from the field, though, and they led by as many as 19 points in the first half, which is fucking crazy. Jackson Davis in that first game, he had his season high of 35 points. He went 15 for 19 shooting. He had 9 boards and 5 assists. He is what he is. He's one of the best players in college basketball. If I had to choose a side here, I'd probably go ahead and lay it with Indiana at home. Like you said, I don't like going off a Big Ten team at home, but I'm off this game also. I will probably live bet it though. Like I said, I will probably jump on this game live.
I think it's a good game to bet again. Bet the swings in this game. Like when Illinois goes on an 8-0 run, bet Indiana. When Indiana goes on an 8-0 run, bet Illinois. I think that's the kind of game it is. I think you're going to be able to capitalize. I think it's going to be one of those type of games here with these 2.
Real quick on Illinois. This team's going to be a fade, though, I think, in the tournament if they're there. I just constantly look at this when I see this team. 3-16, 31% from 3, 67% from the line. That ain't going to work in the tournament. So
you got to make threes, and you got to defend consistently. And they just gave up a 90 burger to Penn State, and you got to make your free throws. And there's dubious question marks in all those areas for this team. All right, Seton Hall, UConn in the Big East now. We've got UConn 10-point home favorites, 133 the total in this game. Another tricky handicap. I mean, UConn, for the most part, I don't trust them laying this number, but 3 of the last 4 they have covered, and the last time they were at home against a Marquette team that's probably a little bit better than Seton Hall, they won by 15. So signs that UConn is starting to get their shit together again and playing a little bit better, but I'm still not ready to lay 10. Problem for Seton Hall is they just don't score enough consistently, especially on the road. They've had some issues. That at Villanova, their last road game, they got held to 54 points. It was a dreadful offensive performance. They desperately need Dre Davis on the court, the great guard. He's out indefinitely, though, with an ankle injury. He's a big cog for this Seton Hall team. So he doesn't look like he's going to go. I mean, this definitely feels like an under as well, honestly, UConn and Seton Hall. I'd lean that way, nothing on the side. I think this could be a UConn hammer spot, but not at 10. Not going to bet it at that number. Conor, what do you think?
UConn looks a lot better, but I'm not ready to lay 10.5, and they could romp today. You mentioned Davis out. I don't know if Sanogo plays. They say he's sick. Everything I've looked at this morning. Yeah. I don't know if it really matters in this game. I'm right with you, though. When you mentioned Ibana, I'd only be on this under or nothing here.
Yeah. He's going to play. I've just got an update. Yep. Expected he'll be available. Maybe on a minutes restriction. We'll see. But obviously, Adama Sanogo, one of the better bigs in the country, looks like he's a go for the Huskies today. What do you think here, Cab? Muted. You're still muted, Cabby.
Fuck. There's one. Okay, if you look about 10 games back, Seton Hall looks like they're kind of rolling. They're 7-3 their last 10 games, but if we narrow it down, right, they've lost 2 of their last 3. And I think Seton Hall was playing a little bit over their head. They do have a good defense though, which might be important here. Seton Hall, they're only giving up 93.1 points per 100 possessions. That's good for 15th in college basketball. Huskies, though, 93.7, so they're right behind them. Yeah, I think this could be a UConn smash spot. I agree with you. I might just go with the first half with it. I have not bet this game yet, but I've been leaning on UConn also.
Yeah, definitely. Seton Hall's done okay. They have played better. They did make a good hire in Holloway, who did a great job at St. Peter. And keep in mind, too, Alexis Yetna, transfer from South Florida, was supposed to be a big piece for this team, and he hasn't played pretty much all season or close to it. So he was supposed to be a real force in the front court for this Pirates team, and they just haven't had him. So I give the Holloway credit. That's what good coaches do. If you're a good coach, team is going to improve as the season goes on, and Seton Hall's been able to do that. So give him credit for that. Texas Tech, West Virginia now. Next up, we go to the Big 12. It is West Virginia, 6.5 point home favorites. 145 being the total here in this Big 12 matchup. 2 struggling Big 12 teams for the majority of the season. West Virginia off back-to-back losses to Texas and Baylor. They become one of those teams where at home they've been great. On the road, you just can't touch them. That's the way it's been with West Virginia. Now they are at home here, so it makes you think maybe they're the right side. West Virginia went into Texas Tech back in January and beat this team 76-61 in Lubbock. Can Texas Tech return the favor? If you actually look last year, Texas Tech did go into Morgantown and beat this team 60-53. I like the way the Raiders are playing. 5 of the last 6. Normally, I'm a little shy of fading the Mountaineers at home, but I'm interested in getting 6.5 points here with Texas Tech. And if you look at it, on the road, they have struggled to play well consistently. I mean, they've had some, but they were at Texas. They lost by 2. They beat LSU on the road. They hung tough and almost beat Oklahoma State. They lost by 3. That's all we need. We need them to cover here. We need them to compete, be right in the game. I think they could be. I like the way things are turning for the Red Raiders here late in the season, playing better basketball. So I'm gonna get in on the Texas Tech side here in this one, 6.5 as a dog. What do you think here, Conor?
I'm going to stay off because this is making me go back and forth in this one because I think Tech's playing their best basketball. And even on the road, they've been decent in the last month and a half, except that bad blowout. What was it? At Baylor.
And that was one bad half. They were in the game against Baylor, and then in the second half, they got blown out. But they were in it in the first half. Yeah.
Exactly. And we all know West Virginia, this is where I want them, is at home. And it's the classic here, 6.5, 6.5, 7. I'm just going to be off. Maybe bet this live. I'm just off.
Yeah, it's the home team off 2 losses spot. That does set up well for West Virginia. I get it. But I've been riding the Texas Tech side. I've taken them a few times now, and it's come through. So I'm still going to get in with the Texas Tech side, even though it does set up favorably for the Mountaineers. What do you think here, Cab?
There we go. Got it. Yeah. Man, I mean, if you've been riding with them, you've been cashing. I mean, the Red Raiders, they're coming off back-to-back wins over top 15 teams, which is huge. But even more important for us, they've covered the spread in 5 of their last 6 games. Whereas West Virginia on the other side, this team's been overvalued. They've covered just 5 times in the last 16 games. So that's, I mean, 5 out of the last 16 is just not something I want to touch here. I think Texas Tech is a good bet. I might even look at Texas Tech here first half, just to avoid that home drudge that you get for the home court pulling away. But I like Tech here also.
All right, liking Tech as well. All right, next up we've got Rutgers and Wisconsin. I know our guy Brothers and Bets in the chat was asking about this game last night on our live stream with Razor Sharp. But we've got Wisconsin 1-point home favorites, 123 the total. I mean, I don't want Wisconsin, but I've got issues with Rutgers. That was one of those red alert losses to Nebraska the other night. I mean, that was just that can't happen if you're Rutgers, losing 82-72 on your home floor to the Cornhuskers, following 2 road losses at Illinois and at Indiana, and then you lost at Iowa. So these road struggles. I was talking earlier in the year how this team was starting to play some better basketball away from the rack. Not lately. 3 straight road failures, 0-3 straight up in ATS, their last 3 road games. Wisconsin enters off a win against Michigan, 64-59. If you're Michigan, how the fuck do you lose that game? Wisconsin went like 10 minutes without making a friggin' shot, and they still won that basketball game somehow. Unbelievable for Michigan to let that game slip away.
Whole other issue, man.
It also shows you Wisconsin's still not really that good. I mean, they just lucked their fucking way into a victory in that last game. So I don't want any side in this game. The under makes sense, but I don't love unders at 123. So I'm off the game. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's low. I could still see it go under. And both these teams lost to Nebraska, in the last few. So I don't want either side here. At Wisconsin, I don't know if they played too much better. They've gotten a little healthier. They still go through Wall. I don't want either side. If I really had to, I'd like to take Rutgers, but not on the road. I'm just off.
Yeah, very, very ugly. Ugly. It's just a Rutgers too. Is they're falling on hard times a bit. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, you said it. I mean, Wisconsin went how long without scoring? Like 10 minutes in that game. Wisconsin 331st, putting up 65 points per game, just terrible. And then you look at their field goal percentage, 324th in the country, 41.4%. I know Rutgers isn't much better, but they're still better. This is just going to be an ugly game, which is why I definitely can still seeing it going under. Like you guys said, I don't want to bet this number, but I think it could go under, and I've got no lean on the side. Rutgers is coming off 3 losses. I know that Illinois and Indiana can be excused, but you said it. Nebraska, you can't excuse that one. And, Wisconsin on the other side, they also lost to Nebraska 2 games ago, but 3 out of their last 5, they're turning it up a little bit. Could have easily beat Northwestern. Wisconsin's just been playing better basketball lately, even though I don't like this basketball team.
This is a fascinating game coming up. Tennessee, Kentucky, SEC matchup here. We've got Tennessee, 1.5 2-point road favorites, 135 the total. So I know there's going to be a sentiment out there. There's a letdown spot for Tennessee after the huge win against Alabama. I know that's going to be out there. That after beating Alabama at home, now this is going to be. They're not going to follow it up. They're not going to be able to duplicate that. This is also though for Tennessee, Kentucky. Okay, we know it's a team that not their best team this year, obviously, but it's still a team, a name brand that you should be pumped up to play. And you lost to this team earlier this year in Knoxville. And I remember that game vividly. Kentucky was struggling at the time. They couldn't buy a win. People were saying this team's falling apart. They went into Tennessee and they beat Tennessee. Kentucky did as double-digit dogs. And I remember that game. Tennessee had 1 million putbacks, layups, dunks, and they missed them. I couldn't believe it. It was 1 million of these, and they couldn't put any of them in. I mean, it was the damnedest thing.
They couldn't hit any shots
in that game. Yeah, they couldn't hit a damn thing in that game from the field. And Kentucky just, it wasn't like Kentucky was amazing defensively. They just missed easy shots, Tennessee. So it's a revenge spot for Tennessee. I don't buy into the narrative of it being a letdown after the Alabama game. I think they do get up for this after losing to Kentucky at home. And now they get a chance here at Rupp to get them back. Kentucky is still too erratic for me. Okay, they beat Mississippi State 71-68, but they've not been great even on their home floor. Kansas came in here and beat them. Arkansas came in here and laid waste to Kentucky on this floor just recently. So it's not like Kentucky can't lose. CJ Frederick, questionable. Like I said, I'm sick to death of that guy on the injury report. He's been on the injury report his whole career at Kentucky since transferring from Iowa. Severe Wheeler's injured, the point guard. Give me Tennessee here. All they got to do is win the game on the road. I think they can do that. What do you think here, Con?
Yeah, you mentioned Frederick Wheeler. On the flip side, they got that big win. No Phillips and James. Are they going to play here in this game for Tennessee? The only thing is they got to go in there here to Kentucky and win by 3. That's the only thing.
Not for me. I took the money line, but I get what you're saying on the spread.
Yeah, with the number. Yeah. I'd look at Kentucky. I don't know why. I just take these points at home and hold my nose. I think they're talented. Both teams are good rebounding, but you mentioned Kentucky kind of beat them up, and you mentioned Tennessee couldn't put any putbacks, and they missed a ton of open shots and threes. It's not like Kentucky's defense was great in that game. I didn't think so. So Tennessee dead under team. Kentucky right now the over team. Tough one here on the total, but I think it's Kentucky or nothing here. I think it's another close one.
Yeah, all these games that are on CBS, they're scheduled before the season started, and I think they expected Kentucky to be better than they've been when they've scheduled Tennessee, Kentucky on their CBS Saturday schedule today, but it is what it is. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. C-Mac just touched on it. We need to know the health of Phillips and James. Yep. Going into this, that's important. And Kentucky, so I was on Kentucky last game, Mississippi State, and what I talked about is Mississippi State was the one of the first 4 in, or last 4 in, and Kentucky was one of the first 4 out. So it was a big game matchup wise for Kentucky. Another big game right here for Kentucky. They need this as a resume building win. That inconsistency is just what's plagued them this whole season. And I think both of you kind of touched on it. The offensive rebounding end for Kentucky, I mean, that's just something that you can't get enough of. I love it when my team second chances, and they're aren't they the first ranked offensive rebounding team in the country? Let me see. I've got that right here.
Website, my go-to for college basketball. I'm just seeing this now, Cab. BartTorvik.com. They've got Tennessee a 5-point road favorite in this game. So they're seeing what I'm seeing. This is the better Tennessee team. They are the better team. They should win. We'll see.
I agree with you. I agree. They are the better team here. It's just it's a confusing one for me. I kind of thought the spread would be like I thought it would be like 4.5 or 5, like you just said right there. So yeah, I'm off this game, guys. I'm off. But
big win. Rick Barnes though. Come on, I don't want him. Come on.
That's the thing. It is. Yeah, I know they could lose this too.
He could win.
Not a shoe-in for Tennessee, but I just think talent, and they went through their little swoon. They got the big win, and if they had beaten Kentucky at home earlier this year, I wouldn't want any part of Tennessee today. But I think that element of losing to Kentucky, we're going to let this fucking mediocre, they may not even make the tournament this year, Kentucky team beat us twice. I can't see that sitting well in the Volunteers locker room if they were to lose to this mediocre bunch twice. We'll see. It should be an interesting game, though. It still is. South Carolina, LSU. This one not so interesting. We've got LSU 7.5-point home favorites, 132. I think I'd play the over if anything. And this is just me seeing these are two bad teams. I think these are two teams that are just going to look to play offense, not necessarily defense. Not that either team is capable of playing a consistent defense, especially LSU. We know how horrendous they've been defensively most of the season. They are trending under, but I think in this matchup, the total's low. You look at every recent meeting, 7 straight overs between these two teams. 7 straight have gone over. So that's it. I don't want either side, but I'm just going to look at over 132 for a total that to me looks a little light. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, pass. I'm off. Nothing for me. I'd take South Carolina or nothing. Go ahead,
Gab.
I'll do the same as C-Mac there. Both these teams are fucking horrible. South Carolina, they've kept it within this number in a lot of their losses, so there's that. But I'm not betting LSU. I got no interest in that.
Yeah. Certainly not laying points. That's for sure. They have been ugly in that regard. Yeah, I could lean to the road dog a little bit here, but I'm sticking to the total. I like it. I think it's a little short here. This 132. All right. Next up, we've got as we continue along. Wake Forest and Miami as we go to the ACC here for this matchup. We've got Miami currently at home. 6.5 point home favorites, 156.5 the total. I mean, I like over. I like over with both of these teams, and now they're playing each other. So you got to think or have a good hunch that I'll be looking at the over in this game, and that's true. The only concern is it's a high number. We're not getting those high 140s, low 150s like we got maybe a few weeks ago with both of these teams. They've made some adjustments, and Wake lately is, the totals have gone up on these Wake games. There's no doubt. They were an over machine, but only one of the last four have gone over the total. But the game that did fly over was North Carolina, and Miami's just, going to score 80. I think they become one of these teams where you just know they're going to score 80 points. Now, that's how good they are offensively, led by Isaiah Wong and company. It's a question of, can Wake Forest do their share to get this game up and over the total? I think it's possible that they can. If you actually look at last year when they played each other in Miami, the score was 92-84 for Miami in that game. That'll get the job done. That'll get it over the total if you're going to bet this game over. So, yeah, I am going to push forward with the over, but keeping it a little lighter just because of the number being so high, 156.5. But I am on over here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the line's pretty sharp. It still might get there with these two teams, like you mentioned. I could see Miami getting easily 85 or 90. I'd lean Miami. I just don't want to lay 7 here. I don't know why. At times the defenses look good, but I think Wake could score on them. So I just see it back and forth, back and forth. I'm probably going to be off.
Yeah, not an optimal value spot either. You're coming off the huge win at North Carolina on Monday night, Miami, and now you're laying points at home against a solid, decent ACC team. I worry about the spot being not great for Miami, but I don't want to fade Miami either. They've got it rolling right now. They got it cooking. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, Miami has been one of my favorite teams the past couple of years to bet on. This isn't a spot where I'm betting them, though. If I could get 4.5, I'd probably be all over it. It's just a little much for me. But, you look at both these offenses. Miami averaging 79 points a game, 28th in the country. Their last 5 games, the least points they put up was against Clemson, and that was 78 points. Other than that, they've gone over 80 or better every game. So this offense is just getting better and better. Field goal percentage, they're 21st best in the country, 48.3%. Free throw percentage, 11th in the country. 3-point percentage, 64th. They do everything all across the board. I would love for Miami to fall down early in this game so I can maybe live bet them. Wake Forest has been a little notorious for having good first halves and shaky second halves this year. But yeah, I'm off this game. I lean towards Miami. I just wish I could get a point or two better.
All right, Florida, Arkansas. We've got Arkansas 8.5 point home favorites, 139.5 being the total as we go back to SEC action here for this game. I mean, Arkansas, don't sleep on this team now as we get later on in the season here when we're talking Arkansas. We know they've taken their lumps. We know they had that little swoon and that struggle earlier this season. But they are capable still. Keep that in mind. They had that 3-game win streak. Last 2, they've come back down to earth. They lost to Mississippi State and A&M. Florida's been all over the place. They've had win streaks, losing streaks. They're a win 2, lose 1, win 1, lose 3, win 2, lose 3 kind of team. Just up and down all over the place. Suddenly this team, offensively though, last 2 games, they've scored 79 and 80. And it's either been they've scored or they've given up a bunch because they've gone over in 4 straight games. These 2 teams, you look at where this total is. It's 130. Oh, it's gone up to 130. I agree with the push up. 137. If you got that, that's a great number because each of the last 2 meetings have gone 139 or more with these 2 teams head to head. So I think the move to the over is warranted. I think Florida might be worth the look here in this game. I like Florida a little bit plus the points. I mean, Arkansas, now you got them laying a bigger number at home. And if you actually look as home favorites here at times this year, they've been up and down. Last time they were at home, they lost outright against Mississippi State. So Florida is a road dog as well. They've had some instances where they've been able to step up to A&M, Mississippi State. They had some cut. Last 3 on the road have been a little bit rough for them, but even the Kentucky game, depending on the number you got, they might have covered for you because they lost that game only by 5. So I'd lean to Florida here, plus 8.5. I don't trust Arkansas in this point spread range. Connor, what do you think?
Arkansas has been playing a bit better, and they kind of had A&M there on the road and just fell apart, which I was happy for because I had A&M. But they struggle to score. Can they score, back here at home? Can they put up a good number? I'm going to stay off the total because that Florida defense, like you talked about, I don't know where it's gone. But, man, I think it's just too many at 9. And it's the perfect spot off the 2 losses, like you mentioned here for Arkansas. But 9, I just thought too many. Obviously, it's, 8.5 now. I'd hold my nose and take Florida here or pass.
All right, Cab.
I'm in the same boat. I'm not on this one. Arkansas looked like they were kind of turning it back on before these last 2 losses against A&M. But fuck, man, this is one of the toughest games for me here because I really would, like you just said, C-Mac, if I could get 2 less points, I'd be on Arkansas here. But at 8.5, 9, it's just too many points. I think they win this game by maybe 8. I think this might be one where you might get caught by a hook if you have Arkansas. So yeah, take Florida here, or stay out. In the matchup wise, these Florida matches up decently against Arkansas. This is gonna be a rough game in the paint, and I think these teams match up decent against each other.
All right, next up, we've got Oklahoma State and TCU now in the Big 12 conference. We've got TCU now. It looks like they are currently laying up from 5 to 6, 6.5, 7 is starting to show up now here on this TCU side. The total currently sitting at 141 across the board. We'll see how this matchup plays out. But if you actually look at things here going into this game, the status of both Lampkin and Mike Miles are imperative. We know TCU with them out has been a bit of a different team here, and it looks like we've got both of them slated to return. It looks like Mike Miles is off the injury report, will play, was battling that knee injury, and look, you saw the results, what TCU was putting out there without them. 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread. They actually won the first game without Mike Miles, West Virginia at home, but since then they lost every game and they failed to cover every game. Now they get those 2 guys back. Feels like a get well spot. I mean, with those 2 guys back playing at home off 4 losses in a row, you lost to Oklahoma State 2 weeks ago. I don't want to step in front of TCU in this spot, but now it's up to 7. I pumped the brakes a little bit laying this many points, especially when you see Oklahoma State on this great run where they've won 5 of their last 6. Their only loss was the last game against Kansas. Definitely TCU getting healthy. Everybody's back. Great spot. Bounce back. I get all that. So I'm not stepping in front of TCU in this spot, but I'm pumping the brakes on laying this many points. So I'm off the game. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's another game. I mean, I'm not going to bet it. The line's too far here. It's just, can Oklahoma State go in there and cover? I think so. They've been playing pretty good.
No.
I mean, other than that loss to Kansas at home, I thought they played well, even on the road. A big win against Oklahoma. What was that? The Iowa State win? Iowa State. To me, I take the points, and I don't love it because this is a get right here for TCU. So I'm off.
All right, Cab.
So are we positive Mike Miles is playing this game? Because
Yes.
I capped it as still questionable. Yeah, he's for sure playing.
He's in. Yep.
Okay. So this is, I mean, you look at their first meeting, Oklahoma State pulled out a 79-73 win, and that was without Mike Miles in that game also. I'm a little frustrated that I haven't, faded TCU every game because as soon as he came out, I didn't bet on TCU. I knew not to do that. And I said, this isn't the same team without him. Those 18 points that he brings to the table are fucking crucial for this TCU team. I mean, look at the way this team shoots from the perimeter, 28.4%, 358th in the country. It's just so bad. But yeah, you get Lampkin back down low, you get Miles in the game. This is a big game for tournament implications too. I mean, you look at TCU off 4 straight. I don't know. I guess the people have been giving them love since they've been injured. I don't know what it is. I don't know how the fuck this team has stayed ranked so high and gotten so much love. Because in my book, they've been out for a minute. But this game is huge. And Oklahoma State is trending up. TCU is trending down. But like we said, those 2 players coming back, I don't know what to expect in this game.
Exactly. And they just need a win. They don't give a shit about the number here. And we win numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, no question about that. I agree with that. Oklahoma, Texas now. We've got Texas double-digit home favorites and the total sitting at 143. I mean, I want no part of Oklahoma on the road. Have you seen Oklahoma's recent road games? I mean, they've just been destroyed one after another. Texas off a loss Monday night against Texas Tech. We were on Texas Tech in that one, C-Mac. Great call for us on the Monday show with Texas Tech in that game against Texas. But this does feel like Texas rebounds, responds, plays much better, probably wins, maybe even covers. But again, 10.5. You're paying a premium, but this is one where I actually did consider laying the wood. Very close to laying the wood with Texas, but I stayed off. Strong lean Texas, though. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, Texas at home. It's just the 10. I don't trust Oklahoma shooting it enough.
No.
Even though these
They fall
teams get
behind
together,
double digits, they're fucked because they just
that
don't score
exactly.
well enough.
They
to
can't.
get
They
back into
can't
the
get
game.
down.
Yep.
I totally agree. Obviously, this is a rivalry, and over the last couple of years, they've kept it close. So maybe look to bet this live, but to me, it's just Texas wins. It's just do they cover?
Yep.
The 10.5.
I'd probably look first half with Texas in this one. That was a big win for Oklahoma over Kansas State. But outside of that, they've just been, you look at what happens when they play better teams, they usually get thrashed. I mean, they lost 61-93 to West Virginia. They lost by 10 to Oklahoma State. They lost by 10 to Baylor. They lost 55-78 to Kansas. I mean, this is a team that, C-Mac, you said it. If they fall, fucked. They can't. If this team gets behind, they're done, which is why I kind of like Texas in the first half. With this being a rivalry game, I know it's a bigger rivalry game in football, but it's still Texas OU. Everyone in fucking Austin is going to be excited for this game. The stadium's going to be rocking. I think Texas probably puts the hammer on Oklahoma today.
All right, next up, Iowa State, Kansas State. It's another Big 12. It's Big 12 time here on the show. We've got Kansas State here in this game currently, 3.5-point home favorites at Bramlage, 135 the total. This is another one where it's a strong spot for the home team, right? It's a good Kansas State team. They've always played their best basketball at Bramlage. This year, their only home loss was against Texas. Other than that, they've been lights out here in this venue. They're off to back-to-back road losses against Texas Tech and Oklahoma. They welcome in Iowa State, who, as we know, are beatable on the road. Look at these road results. Lost to Kansas, Oklahoma State, Missouri, Texas Tech, West Virginia, all on the road. And the Missouri game, they got blown out on the road. So I do like Kansas State here. It's just a spot play. It's a cheap enough number. Yeah, I like the Wildcats here. Back at home. Off 2 losses, team that's just not consistent enough on the road on the other side with the Cyclones. So give me K-State here. What do you think, Con?
Yeah, we've seen in conference play this team finally, after being so good, undefeated for a long time, non-conference losers of 4 or 5. I think it's a good bounce back for them too. Iowa State, though, they've been all right on the road. They had that bad blowout to Missouri, but at KU was 2-3 to Texas Tech. I worry that this could be close. But for me, it's lay it here, the short number, or just pass with Kansas State.
Marquise Noel and company get it done today, I think. What do you think here, Cap?
I agree. You don't bet Iowa State on the road. It's just not something you do. You look at both these teams; they've been good, for us against the spread this year. Iowa State 14-11, Kansas State 17-9. The Wildcats, they're just 1-4 in their past 5, and 7-6 this year in Big 12 play. And then you look at Iowa State, 8-5 in Big 12 play. God, the Big 12 is such a good conference. I know we all know that, but damn, there's some good basketball.
Oh, it's zoomed right past the Big 10 this year. It's not even close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's outstanding. But so into those numbers, we dig a little deeper though. At home, the Wildcats are 10-4 against the spread this year. And 6-1 versus ranked opponents. So, they step up for these big games. And that's something we'll talk about later when I'm talking about some of the other games. It's important to look at, the quad 1, quad 2 wins. What do these teams do against the better teams? And Kansas State, they show up. I know they're not an elite offense, but, they've got a top 25 defense. They've got home court advantage. Iowa State's a fade on the road. I lay it here with Kansas State or nothing.
All right, I think we have consensus here. All right, Mississippi State and Ole Miss next up here in SEC play. Mississippi State 3.5-point road favorites, 127.5 the total. Rivalry game, Egg Bowl basketball version, as I often like to say, between these two teams. Very inconsistent. Holy shit, these two teams. No one, especially Ole Miss has had a dreadful year. There's no question. They've been rough. It's been rough to back them. Mississippi State coming off the loss at home against Kentucky, but they had been playing pretty well. But what's funny is that Ole Miss at home has really been a problem for Mississippi State, and I've seen weird things. This feels too easy to take Mississippi State. They are the better team, but they don't historically play well in Oxford. They really don't. And if you look at it, they've had trouble in this venue repeatedly. So be very careful because this does look cheap on the Bulldogs. We think they're the better team. We know they are. We know they are. It's a question of, can you lay points on the road where historically it's a rivalry and they just haven't played well here in Oxford for whatever reason. So for that reason, I'm off the game, even though I want to take the Bulldogs here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, and nothing's telling you really to take Old Miss because they haven't done anything. They've been horrible at home against the number, especially against good teams.
But you want to
But
beat
it's a
your
rivalry.
in-state team. You do. I
Yeah,
don't care how
so
bad you are. You come to play in a spot like this. Yeah,
I think so too. I mean, I'd take the dog. I'm not going to be involved though. I'm off.
I agree. I agree. It feels like take the dog because this line's cheap, but at the same time, that dog is that's a dead dog right now. They're not playing well. Cab, what do you think?
I jumped in on this one. I got Mississippi State in the first half, -1.5. You look at Ole Miss right now; they're going to be missing Ruffin, who's their, he's their third leading scorer. He's important. They've got 3 people out. Ole Miss is hobbled in this one, and the Bulldogs they're completely healthy. And you said it. This is a rivalry game, so it's an important. Both teams are going to come amped, ready to play, and I like that. That lines up for me where I feel like Mississippi State is the better team, and I'm only having to lay a bucket with them in the first half. So I jumped on them. I know that's kind of simple, and I simplified it there with that. And sometimes I get burned when I do this. I know. I mean, it's the way it goes. But here it just lines up for me. And I faded Mississippi State against Kentucky, but this isn't Kentucky. This is Ole Miss, and I think that they should be up by a bucket here at half.
It feels cheap. I definitely, like I said,
They would do it with their defense.
It feels cheap on Mississippi State. Yep.
Yeah, it won't be because they light it up. But yeah. Definitely.
No question about that. They're Old Piss this year, as in piss poor, this Old Miss basketball team. So I call them Old Piss now. All right, next up, we've got DePaul and Xavier. Big East action. Xavier, 13-point home favorites, 155 the total. I'm so tempted to take DePaul here. I mean, this is not a defense I like laying 13 with, Xavier. I mean, that's just that's going to be their downfall in March. I mean, they just have issues at that end of the floor. All of a sudden, though, on the road, the last 2 losses, though, the offense has sputtered. 67, 68. That's never supposed to be the problem for Xavier. But the last 2 games, it has been an issue for the Musketeers. We'll see how DePaul fares in this game. DePaul's had some good performances, at least competitive performances on the road, but they've also had some blowouts, a little bit of everything. We'll see if they can hang tough here with Xavier. They did beat Xavier, remember, at home, 73-72. And even at Xavier last year, Cintas Center, 4-point win for DePaul. Before that, 1-point win for Xavier. Before that, DePaul won again. Xavier hasn't won by this kind of point spread over DePaul in forever. So it feels like it's a lot of points here. Lean DePaul for me. Connor, what do you think?
I take the points here. Nothing. Xavier's just that defense. They're going to outscore them. Can they just do that and keep run away with it that way? Because it won't be with their defense. So is it enough? I think so. If I had to, I'd take the points with Dogs.
I think I will, because I'm looking at this series history, and DePaul has just been a consistent thorn in the side of Xavier every single recent meeting. Cab, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is going to sound interesting because it's going to sound like I'm saying 2 sides here, but I think you take the points with DePaul, unless if you want to bet, you maybe look at a team total. I'm sure that team total is extremely high, but you guys said it. Xavier doesn't play any fucking defense, and I don't like betting teams that don't play defense, especially when they know that they can just outscore somebody. Like when you're comfortable knowing that, they're not going to tighten up on defense. They're not going to lock down. Coming off 2 losses here, I think maybe in the first half, maybe you could look at Xavier, maybe look DePaul full game. I have not bet this one, but yeah, those are the 3 ways I'd look at it.
There we go. All right, next up, one of the games of the day for sure. ESPN Game Days there at Fog Allen. Dan Schulman, and the great Dan Schulman. People talk about my voice. Fuck my voice. That guy's voice. Dan Schulman. Doesn't get any better than that. It's a calm, easy listen. It sounds good. It's an easy listen on the ears listening to Dan Schulman talk. His voice is that good. Him and Jay Billis on the call here for this one. Baylor and Kansas. It's one of the big games today. We've got Kansas here laying currently 5-point home favorites, 148.5 the total in this one. This should be a great matchup. Clearly rivals. They don't like each other. They have a history. Earlier this year, Baylor won 75-69 at home. Can Kansas return the favor? They might. Kansas did beat them down 83-59 last year at Fog Allen Fieldhouse. We'll see if Kansas can get it going. Kansas, starting to put things together. since that blowout road loss, and we know Kansas has had some issues on the road this year, but lately at home, Kansas State won by 12, Texas a win and cover at home, and they actually went on the road and looked very impressive against the 2 Oklahoma schools. So this Kansas team's revving up a little bit right now, maybe saying March is a month away, guys, and Bill Self's probably saying, let's start playing like it. And they are. Jalen Wilson's been great. KJ Adams has stepped up. Kevin McCullough's doing his thing. Grady Dick is starting to heat up from the perimeter as well for Kansas. All of it's coming together right now. I'd lean Jayhawks here. I haven't bet it yet, but I'm strongly leaning to the -5 here with Kansas. Connor, what do you think here? Baylor, Kansas.
Man, I've been riding Baylor a lot, and I think this game could be close. Kansas so short-handed. I think play Harrison McCullough. I mean, they're probable, but they're banged up. And I've talked about it before, I think, with you guys, just the short bench that they have. These guys play like 35 minutes for Kansas, and sometimes that could wear on them. They are at home, college game day, the whole thing.
Both probable. DeJuan Harris,
yeah,
Jr.
they're going to play.
McCullough probable. Yeah,
they're going to play. They don't have much of a bench with these guys, so I think they win. I'm leaning Kansas full game here. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
All right, Cab.
Okay, so to kind of piggyback on what you guys just said, yeah, for Kansas, for me, I think Kansas has a good chance, at winning it all this year again. Very good basketball team, but they got to get healthy. And even with the players being probable, a lot of times you'll see people come back and they start a little bit slow, and pull it out in the second half or later in the first half. Both these teams have been great. I've been betting on both of these teams, and this is a game for first place in the Big 12 right now. Both of them are 9-4 in Big 12 play and conference play. And yeah, like I said, I've been on both these teams, but where it comes down to me is I got +3 in the first half with Baylor. I think this game is close, and I think if Kansas does cover the spread, I think they pull it away towards the end of the game. I took Baylor here in the first half +3. If this was in a month, I'd be on Kansas. Like we were saying, and like you were saying about Bill, I think he's getting his team there, but I just don't think they're completely healthy and ready for it yet. So I like +3 with Baylor in the first half.
All right.
Baylor's been really good. This team's playing good basketball right now.
Yep. They definitely are. And we'll see if they can keep it rolling here today. All right. We've got Villanova and Providence. We've got Providence here, 4-point home favorites, 137 the total. This is a dilemma because Villanova's in revenge. They lost at home to Providence last month, 70-65. Now they're an underdog on the road, and usually the road underdog team in revenge. I like to back that team. That being said, there is no freaking way I'm going against Providence at home in this building. There's just no way that's happening. No way at all. They are that good at home. But they are coming off an emotional, crazy freaking game against Creighton, 94-86. And I worry that there's that exhale spot, that breathe in, breathe out, and they maybe are a little bit, I don't know. It's just that was an emotional, gutted out, intense basketball game. What a game that was.
Yeah.
I worry about that for Providence today a little bit, and that's keeping me off Providence. And Villanova is in revenge, so I think Villanova's bringing it today, but I ain't stepping in front of Providence on this home floor. There's just no way I'm doing that. Connor, what do you think?
Me too. And this open 5, and we're seeing 3.5s now. I think
they're betting against Providence because Providence is off that overtime game. They think they're going to be, hit a wall today, and maybe they do. Maybe they do. I don't know.
And they might. And every time, when I see Providence and probably late 5, you're like, whoa, you take this team as a dog. You just bet them with Ed Cooley, and as a favorite, they haven't been the same. And then now you could look at it that it's short at 3.5. Villanova's playing better. I think the game's close.
They got Justin Moore back. That's been critical,
and he hasn't been great.
No, he
hasn't. He's. I don't know what's going on with him, but at least he's in the lineup. He's out there, and hopefully he'll maybe get going. That would really help them out. Good free throw shooting team. Still, they can hit some threes. They're slow, Villanova. So there's Nasty Nate. I knew he was going to say.
I knew we were going to see him when Providence started.
There he is.
When it's the Celtics and it's Providence, Nasty Nate appearance will be made in the chat. No doubt about that. Cab, what do you think?
Get that alternate spread, Nate. There you go.
Hell yeah.
Man, for me, this one, I know Villanova's coming in with some momentum, winning the last 3 games, but it's like, I guess Seton Hall was a decent win. I don't give a shit about them beating Butler or DePaul right now. And you go back before that, they had the back-to-back losses against Marquette and Creighton. And this is Providence at home. I know you guys both said it. I mean, they're 14-0 at home. They've covered the spread in 5 of their last 7 games. Meanwhile, you look at the other side, Villanova's only covered the spread 2 of their last 5 road games. I'm not going against Providence at home. You either take the short number with Providence or you pass on this game, in my opinion.
All right. We'll do a couple of games at a time now to move along quicker here. Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, Utah, Arizona State next to. We've got Virginia Tech here against Pitt. Let me just see where they're on. There we go. Virginia Tech, 5-point home favorites, 144 the total. And then in the Utah game against Arizona State, it's Arizona State, 3.5-point home favorites, 137 the total. I don't want Utah on the road, so I'd lean Sun Devils. Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, I lean more over in that game than either side. That's where I'm at. Over in the Pitt game, I'd lean Arizona State in the other game. Connor, what do you think of those two?
I agree. The over. I wish this was 140, 141, not 145, even though I still think he can get over the number there. Pretty sharp total in that game. And I can't do it with Utah, but I don't have a ton of trust with Arizona State. Free bet, I'd take Arizona State. I'd lay it if I had to. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Cab, what do you think of those two games?
Man, this people probably get confused by this Virginia Tech team of who they are because they opened the year 11-1, which is great. But since then, since 2023, they've gone 4-10 their last 14 games. Just not been good. And Pitt, nobody expected this out of Pitt. I mean, they have a chance to win the conference. They've got a deep rotation on this team. I like Pitt here. I think +3 might be a little bit of a steal with Pittsburgh in this game. So I like Pitt. And I'm not going to lie. What was the other game you just said we were talking
Utah,
about?
Arizona State, which means probably a pass.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now that you said it, Arizona State, you're getting kind of a low number at 3.5 here with them, but I don't know what the fuck to expect out of this team. You can't go lose to Colorado at home. Losing to Oregon at home is one thing, but losing to Colorado at home last game, Arizona State is kind of like Pittsburgh where I didn't expect much out of them this year, and they've impressed me and done better than what I expected. And 3.5, I guess, could be a low number with Utah, but I'm off that game.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I lean Pitt too, a +5. They're on a roll right now. I mean, I don't like usually betting against Va Tech at home, but Pitt's rolling right now. I think the 5 might be worth a look on Pitt, and Pitt's been good to me this year as well. Connor's muted now.
I thought it was a joke that they were laying points, 8 or 9, even to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
They are better at home, but nothing wants me to back this team at all with Virginia Tech. I'd be.
I feel bad for my guy Mike Young. I like that coach, but it's been an up and down rocky year for his team. All right, Duke Syracuse we used to be Carrier Dome, now it's some sponsored name, but Duke 1.5-point road favorites, 140.5, 141 the total in this game. So I definitely lean Syracuse here, honestly. I don't want Duke on the road. I don't ever want Duke on the road, okay? I mean, they just are horrible on the road. I mean, okay, they beat up Georgia Tech. Other than that, they've been a complete and utter flop, a disaster, a disgrace away from Cameron Indoor. They've been terrible on the road. And say what you will about Syracuse. Here we go again with this fucking team and Jim Boeheim. Suck for 3 months, and then February rolls around. We get close to March, and they heat up, and they sneak in the tournament, and they go on a run. Are they going to do this shit again? Are they going to pull this stunt one more time, Syracuse? Here we go again. They've won 3 in a row. Not the greatest competition in the first 2, BC and Florida State, but they were road wins, give them credit. But then they come home and they beat a pretty good NC State team, 75-72. So this team's got something cooking now. I don't trust Duke on the road. They're laying points on the road. Syracuse are nothing for me. In fact, I probably will bet Syracuse. Lean over as well. What do you think, Connor? Duke, Syracuse.
I'm on Syracuse. I think this is one of the better bets I like. They're hot. You talked about this when Boeheim gets it done. I don't want Duke on the road. This team, watching them game in and game out, especially on the road, they can't shoot it. They just can't shoot it, especially from deep. Maybe they have a little more talent, but that dome will be rocking today. I think it's just take Syracuse or nothing. I'll be on them.
Yeah, you know what? You need to shoot the 3 ball to beat the zone. Right? We always say that. You got to be willing to make your shots from the perimeter if you're going to have success against a team that plays zone. Well, your 273rd ranked, 32% 3-point shooting Duke team probably is going to be tough to do that. That is a bad 3-point shooting team. You're 100% right, Connor. What do you think here, Cab?
I mean, I agree with everything you guys said, but Pinnacle, you know how they hang those different lines. So I couldn't help it. I grabbed Duke at plus a half a point in the first half. Like I said, I couldn't help it here because both of these teams. Now I know it's going to be rocking, but both these teams offensively, you know, Duke not good, below average. Syracuse a little above average. They are shooting very well, 46.9%. It's defense for me here. I think you know, I know all the talk of Coach K being gone, all that. I get it. This isn't the same Duke team. They might not even make the tournament this year, but they still play good defense. They're still an 18-8 team with a lot of fucking talent on the court, and giving me a plus a half a point in the first half, I just got to take the talent here. Basically, is what I'm going with.
They've owned them too. Duke's
Yep.
owned them lately. What used to be, you know, a good rivalry back and forth back in the day, but
It's been more
get
Duke. Yeah, Duke's won 7 straight rather against Syracuse. So we'll see if they can extend that here today for this Duke Syracuse team. All right, next up, Texas A&M, Missouri, and Georgia, Alabama. We'll do the next two here in the SEC. I like Missouri. They're only laying 2 at home, 151 the total. I think it's a good spot for Missouri. A&M on the road now, tough, tricky situation for them. I like Missouri. And then Georgia, Alabama is, look, obviously Alabama off the loss. They could absolutely lay the wood to beat down here on Georgia, but I don't want to lay 19. 19's a big number. So I'm off that game. I like Missouri, though. I'm on Missouri here today. Cab, what do you think?
I like Missouri also. You know, A&M, you see I got the A&M hat on. I've been frustrated. I've missed some good betting opportunities on this team this year, but I haven't bet on them or against them. I've just completely stayed away. This is a spot, though, where I'd look Missouri coming back home where they definitely play better basketball. And, you know, A&M's got a good defense. They're gonna lock you down. They're going to put a lot of different presses. Williams does a good job with that. And they're aggressive on the boards, which is a weak spot for Missouri. So that would be my only concern. You know, Missouri only getting 28 boards per game, 346 in the country. But with their offense and their pace, I think they might be able to outpace some of these presses. I like Missouri here also.
All right, we'll move on to the next two games. Gonzaga, Pepperdine, Clemson, Louisville. We've got Gonzaga. I just like the over in that Gonzaga game. I don't need to go on to too much detail other than Gonzaga could score at will like they did against Loyola Marymount. Man, did they remember that Loyola Marymount beat them at the Kennel or what? Man, they showed no mercy to Loyola Marymount the other night. Obviously, if you believed in the revenge spot, you cashed a ticket there. But now you're laying 16. I don't think they'll be as fired up to go to Malibu here, play Pepperdine. Pepperdine, you know, did beat BYU. That home court, they can rise up. I don't hate the idea of taking 16.5 with Pepperdine. I kind of lean that way, but I'm going to stick to the total. It's high, but it's high for a reason. I think it gets into the 170s. Pepperdine is just very fast-paced, very little defense, inconsistent. Gonzaga could score at will, but I think Pepperdine scores too. So the over for me. And then the other game, Clemson, Louisville's a pass. It's just I don't want no part of Louisville, so Clemson, but not enough to bet them. What do you think here, Cap?
I like that over that you were talking about in the Gonzaga game. I mean, I expect Gonzaga to, at least score 85, probably 90. They could even get to 100 again in this game. I mean, honestly, I know that sounds ridiculous to say it, but they could. Pepperdine, you know, you look back, they gave up 94 against Portland, 92 against BYU, 80 against San Francisco. There's no reason why Gonzaga doesn't put up 90 or 100 points in this game. So, yeah, I like the over in that one also. I'd lean Clemson. Obviously, I want nothing to do with the 3-23 Louisville team. But I also am not trying to lay 10.5 points with Clemson. So I'm completely off that game.
Next up, we got two more games here. St. John's hosting Creighton, Arizona hosting Colorado. I want to take Creighton so badly after the loss against Providence because but the only thing is it's kind of like we talked about with Providence. It was an emotional, physical game, intense game. Is the gas tank empty for Providence today? Is it empty for Creighton today? It's the only concern I have. I have no concerns that they can't, just do away with this St. John's team, who I don't think is very good. They lucked their way into a win at DePaul in their last game, but DePaul just fell apart down the stretch in that game. And then the St. John's, DePaul was crushed, and then St. John's took one going away in overtime. They did beat Providence at home, but I don't know. Is this good? Is this the start of a late season surge for St. John's or just a mirage? I think Creighton's still the much better team. They've pretty much owned St. John's. They've won 5 straight. They've covered 5 straight against St. John's, and they're off a loss. So I think Creighton's focused for this game. But again, the gas tank, how much is in that gas tank after that Providence thriller earlier this week. But I lean Creighton for sure in that game. Colorado, Arizona. Colorado on the road, I don't trust, but Arizona's coming off the revenge game where they whipped Utah in their last game. Will they bring that same focus? Sometimes they fall asleep. Arizona, that does worry me, but I could only look Arizona there. I don't trust Colorado on the road. So lean Arizona, lean Creighton. What do you think of those two, Cap?
Yeah, I like Creighton here in this one. I mean, I know they lost that game against Providence and it went to overtime and both teams put all they had into it. But you go back before that, Creighton they were starting to roll again. They had won 4 in a row before that, looking good. St. John's on the other side, you said it, they kind of fell into that win against DePaul. I know they had the big win against Providence, but Providence was probably looking ahead to Creighton. And outside of that, this is just not a very good St. John's team, in my opinion. I think it's over. I mean, 16 wins is more than they should have. I think Creighton probably wins this battle down low. I like Creighton here in the first half, actually, especially on the road here, a lot. And on the other game, I'm off because Colorado's kind of like that Oregon team for me. I'm not allowed to bet on them. I'm not allowed to bet against them. I don't know. Arizona can cover this spread. Of course they can cover this spread. 83.4 points per game doesn't get much better. 6th in the country. Field goal percentage, 9th best in the country, 49.1. But yeah, I'm just not going to lay that many points today. There's too many other opportunities to bet.
There you go. Agree with that. Pick your spots. Nevada, Utah State, and Duquesne, St. Louis. Next two games. We've got Nevada Utah State on their home floor, 4.5-point home favorites, 145.5. I like the over there. I think both teams can score enough to get over the total. Utah State plays very fast. Ryan Odom's that young coach from UMBC, push pace, try to score in transition often. I think they probably get the job done laying 4. And I don't trust Nevada on the road. It would be home favorite and over. If I play that game, I probably will. And then Duquesne and St. Louis. St. Louis laying 6 now. Duquesne's one of those teams. I like this Duquesne team quite a bit. But a lot of their great performances have been at home. On the road, they've been a little bit shakier. They lost at UMass. They lost at St. Bonaventure. They did beat St. Joe's and George Washington on the road, but they've been a little bit more erratic on the road so far this year. We'll see how they fare. They did, they haven't played. They only played once last year, and it was at St. Louis, just blowing out Duquesne 77-53 in that game. I like the way Duquesne's playing. I'm tempted here. And after the big win against Davidson, too, just a few nights ago, kind of tempted to take the points with the Dukes here in this one. What do you think of these two games here, Cab? We've got Nevada, Utah State, Duquesne, St. Louis.
So for your first game, man, both these teams have just been doing such a great job covering for everybody. You look at the Wolfpack; they're 16-7, 16-7-2 ATS, while the Aggies are 15-11 ATS. I've been on this Utah State team a lot. This is going to be a tough game. Nevada, they're in the 82nd spot with the 42.2 field goal percentage, and Utah, they're sitting at 123rd with 43.1 opposing field goal percentage. I think this might be a matchup spot for Nevada, which I hate to say because I've made a lot of money betting Utah here, but I kind of lean Nevada in that game. And the other one, I agree with you completely, man. The Dukes right now, they're 52nd in college. And before I go into this, why I'm saying this, this is a conference where you see a lot of 3-shot. And the Dukes, they're 52nd in college basketball with a 36.6% 3-point percentage. While you look on the other side, St. Louis is 148th in that spot with a 34.7%. And both of these teams on defense lately have been complete opposites. The Dukes are only giving up 56 points in their last 3 games. Per game, which is just outstanding, where St. Louis on the other side, 70.8. So there's a huge disparity in defense. So I think there's value with the Dukes in that spot. But I haven't bet either of these games.
All right, Oregon State, Washington, Tulane, and South Florida. Next up here, we've got Tulane has been just a terrific team for me to back all year. They're 4-point road favorites tonight against South Florida. The total in that game is up to 159.5, and I hate seeing that because I love the over in that game. But, man, so does everybody else. It's already moved 5 points, that total. But I understand why that is. Michigan State, Michigan 2-point home favorites, 134.5. I think Michigan off the loss against Michigan State's a good spot. I would certainly lean Michigan at home after the tough game against Wisconsin earlier this week. Michigan State on another one of these Big Ten road teams. They're just not good enough, consistent enough on the road. So Dickinson, Jet Howard and company, I think they bounce back here at home. against Michigan State. And then the other game, like I said, Tulane and South Florida. Tulane or pass. I don't step in front of Tulane. Ron Hunter's a hell of a coach. They've had a hell of a season. They've won and covered 4 straight games. They've been a point spread machine. They did beat USF badly 3 straight times. Well, 2 of them were blowouts. One game was close, but 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread for Tulane against South Florida. I think I like them a little bit as road favorites, but I love the over even more. Unfortunately, the number's gone from 154 to 159.5, but I still lean over the total. I still would take it, actually. I think it could still get I mean, you look at these Tulane games, man. 195, 179, 180, 160. I mean, they're just flying over the total. And South Florida, all of a sudden, too, the defense is falling apart. They've gone over 9 of their last 10 games. So everybody's seeing these are over machines and betting it accordingly. Cab, what do you think of these 2 games?
Yeah. Tulane, I like Tulane as a road favorite here. Like you said, you look at the adjusted efficiency margin on these 2 games. There's a big disparity here. Tulane is 81st in college basketball with a plus 9.39 rating. South Florida on the other side, 173rd with a plus 2.64 rating. And you look at what's been going on just of late, like let's say last 4 games. Tulane's averaging 90 points per game, while the Bulls are only putting up 78.3 points per game. I think this is a good spot for Tulane here. I like Tulane a lot. In the other game, Michigan State, Michigan, I agree with you on that one too. I think it's a good bounce back spot for Michigan. Their offense has been a little lackluster of late. They've been struggling to put up points, only 59 and 61 in their last 2 games. The good news is this is a Michigan State team that also struggles putting up points, only getting a 67.9 per game, 275th in the country, only a 44.2% field goal percentage. It's 200th. I think this is a good spot for Michigan to bounce back here, especially in this rivalry game here.
Yep, I agree with that. So Michigan and then Tulane and over is what we're looking at in those 2. All right, Auburn, Vanderbilt, Penn State, Minnesota. The next 2 games, we've got Auburn 3-point road favorites, 144.5 the total, and then Penn State, Minnesota. Penn State 8-point road favorites, 133 the total in this game. Doesn't feel like a buy low spot on Penn State. They're coming off the huge win against Illinois, and now they're laying a big number against obviously a Minnesota team that's pretty bad. But I don't know if this is the spot to take Penn State after the huge win. But I don't know if I can make a case for Minnesota, though. Geez, they're not good at all right now. They're not scoring the basketball at all, not a lick. 39, 56, 57, 61, 55, 46, 56. That's what they've scored in their last 7 games. I mean, terrible offensive team. So, but I'd lean Penn State. I can only take Penn State because Minnesota's that bad, but I don't want to lay 8. And then in the other game, Auburn and Vanderbilt, Auburn's gone through their woes, right? It kind of feels like they've gone through their little rough patch and things were falling apart a little bit for Bruce Pearl's squad. But they get the big win against Missouri. They've had a few days off, and maybe now it feels like they could maybe get on a bit of a roll. But I don't want to sell Jerry Stackhouse's team short. I mean, Vanderbilt here, 4 straight wins. They've covered 3 of the 4, playing some of their best basketball of the year. It kind of feels like now Auburn's been devalued, and now there's value. And after 3 straight losses, they've gone through the abyss. They beat Missouri. They're ready to get on a run again. So I kind of want to take Auburn, but I'm on the fence. Cab, what do you think of these 2?
I've already, I agree with that. I already took Auburn first half and I took Auburn full game here. It's the only spot I doubled down on today. I know Vanderbilt's trending up. They've been great. I see the winning streak. I know what they've been doing, but I think it gets snapped here with Auburn. Now, one thing, I think Broom being questionable is a huge factor in this game, but with or without him, I still like Auburn. I got 1.5 first half. I got 3 full game. Auburn right now, they're on a 5-1 ATS road. They've covered 5 of their last 6 on the road. And you look at Vanderbilt, they failed to cover in 8 of their last 11 games at home. So it's not like they're one of those teams that, is super tough at home or protects their home court. I like Auburn here a lot, obviously, which is why I bet them twice. I do think it's a buy low opportunity. And this isn't an Auburn team that I've been very high on whatsoever. I'm not very high on this basketball team, but one thing that they do is they beat the teams that they're supposed to, and they usually lay the wood to the teams that they're supposed to. The better teams, Auburn looks like shit, but teams that they're supposed to beat, they handle. And I think this is a spot where they're going to win this game and cover first half full game. What was the other one? One more time. Oh, Penn State.
The other one, yeah, Penn State, Minnesota.
Yeah, Penn State, man. looked outstanding last game against Illinois. Pickett, I said it. I said it so many times. He's an NBA player. He's a future NBA player. But before that game against Illinois, they looked like shit. They had lost 4 in a row. But then on the other side, you said it. What was it? 55, 46, 56. Like can this team break fucking 60 points? 356 in the country, only getting 60.9 points per game, 41.8% shooting, 60% from the free throw line, 30% from the 3-point line. Minnesota is fucking awful. It's Penn State or pass.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. It's Penn State or nothing. All right, well, this is the final 3 games now, the marquee games, and then we'll have some time for other games Cab likes, other games I like, and other games Conor Mack likes if we can find him, which right now we can't. But if he, we'll get his games when he rejoins us. We got Stanford, USC, BYU, St. Mary's, and Cal and UCLA to wrap things up. BYU, St. Mary's, St. Mary's 10-point home favorites, 128. We've got USC 6-point home favorites against Stanford, 141 the total, and UCLA laying 25 against California, and the total in that game 126 across the board. I mean, the under I think I might look at with Cal and UCLA. I don't think Cal's going to score very much, but UCLA could put it on cruise control there, kind of a sleepy spot for them. But I don't even know if I could trust Cal to score enough here. They got waxed by USC in their last game. I lean under, but I'm passing there. BYU, St. Mary's, I like BYU a little bit. St. Mary's is starting to be a little overvalued. They're winning games. They're not necessarily winning games convincingly, game in and game out. BYU's had their issues, but, this is still a rivalry situation, and I expect them to want to come to play here against St. Mary's. St. Mary's is just 2-4 against the spread their last 6 games, so they've had a harder time covering these big numbers. So I like BYU a little bit plus the points. And then Stanford, USC. Stanford, hard-fought loss against UCLA. They were right in that game. I might come back to Stanford here, plus 6. They are playing better. They might be able to hang tough against USC. So that's my thoughts on those 3 games. Cab, what do you think? Stanford, USC, BYU, St. Mary's, Cal, UCLA.
Okay, so for Cal, UCLA, I'll just get that one out of the way. I'm not touching a 25-point spread. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get that out of the way. USC here, I know that, the 97-60 win over Cal doesn't mean shit. Before that, they lost 2 tough road games against Oregon State. They look like shit. And I know those were bad losses, but at home, this USC team has been outstanding. They've won their last 7 games at home by at least 6, including a win over UCLA, 77-64. They don't just win at home, they dominate. And that's what I like to see. Stanford's offense has been putting up points, but in the last 3 of their last 4 games, they've been held to 65 or fewer. So this is a spot where, I like USC. I took USC. I got them at 5.5. I had to lay a little bit of juice, minus 118. But I got USC in this one, full game, not even first half. And then what was the third one? Oh, BYU, St. Mary's. There we go. BYU. Yeah, 10.5's too much for me probably in this spot. I think BYU can cover this spread. Do I think they win this game? Absolutely not. But do I think 10.5 might be a little much? Yeah, I do. You look at BYU's losses, other than the 12-point loss with shock to Pepperdine, only lost by 7 to Gonzaga. They keep it close within the number. And BYU can shoot. They are putting up 75.6 points per game, which is 88th in the country. They've got, above average free throw percentage. This is not a terrible team. I think this could be a close game. I like BYU just to cover the spread.
All right, there we go. That's the major games. We hit every marquee game pretty much. Like we always put every major conference game on the slate on the breakdown, on the rundown, every Saturday show here on the Pub Hub. So we hope you enjoyed it. Hit the like button. Let's go 331 live viewers. Hit that like button. We appreciate it very much. We're here on an early Saturday morning, earlier for some than others. Especially for Cab and especially for Conor Mack, where it's still only 8 a.m. Local time there out in the Pacific West Coast. So hit that like button. You're all up early with us too, which we also greatly appreciate. Cab, any games on the slate, on the docket today that we have not talked about that you want to bet and you are interested in?
No, I've been bringing like 1 or 2 each day, but no, I got like 7 bets on the main board. I don't need anything else.
There you go. All right. So that will be my segment here. The rest of the card that I like here, because we've got a bunch as you would expect here. Let's go through. We'll go rapid fire here. let me see here. Just going down here in the list. Sanford VMI over. I like that. Georgia Southern +9 against Southern Miss. Southern Miss just hasn't been covering numbers as much lately. I know they're at home here, but I think 9's a lot to be giving Georgia Southern. So I kind of like them in this spot. Mercer's taking money, I agree, against Western Carolina, but it's up to 6.5 in that game. I like over in Illinois State, Indiana State. Elon and Monmouth. I mean, two teams I've made a shit ton of money with. I've got to choose one. I'm not going to choose one. I'm passing on that. That one's a tough one. Green Bay, Youngstown State. I took a flyer on Green Bay. That's a monstrous number for Youngstown State. Over as well at 142.5 in that one. I'm on UMass +5 against Rhode Island. I don't trust Rhode Island laying that number like that. Ball State, Western Michigan over the total. Fordham +8 against VCU +8.5. VCU is another one of those teams. They're going through a little bit of a funk and a downturn just a little bit. So I think that's a good spot. Arkansas State for me. Arkansas State is undervalued big time. They struggled all season in Sun Belt. I took them against Texas State. They covered. I almost took them against Troy. I should have. And Troy had to come back from a huge deficit to beat Arkansas State. And Troy's one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. Arkansas State's picking their game up. They're undervalued after a bad start. Arkansas State, I think, will beat Georgia State on their home floor here today. Arkansas State at home, I should say. They'll defend their home court and beat Georgia State, in my opinion, there. All right, what else have we got here? Go down the list. Drexel Hampton, I like the over there. I like Hampton a little bit too. What's Drexel doing laying 5-6 on the road? Do we trust Drexel in that role? I don't. UAB San Antonio over. I like those UAB overs. UAB Texas San Antonio, I think, goes over the total 152. You see that offense is back on form with Jelly Walker back, and they're starting to go over the total again. So I like that one. Delaware has taken money. I agree. I think they beat NC Wilmington at home. Northern Iowa, Missouri State, pass on that one. I almost took Missouri State, but I ended up staying off that game. Over with Tennessee Martin and Tennessee Tech, but it's already been hammered to the over, but I agree with that. LaSalle, +5.5, +6 against George Mason. Crazy as it is to say, LaSalle's playing better lately. So I think they might hang with George Mason in that one. Eastern Illinois, Little Rock, I think, goes over the total. Edwardsville, Tennessee State, I think, goes over the total. Northern Colorado, Eastern Washington goes over the total, but that is another one that's taken a lot of money. Toledo Bowling Green over the total. Southern Indiana, Southeast Missouri State over the total. So as you see, we're in a stretch of the card here where I like a lot of higher scoring games. Florida International, Middle Tennessee over the total as well. Middle Tennessee, big win against Florida Atlantic. Is it a letdown spot? I don't know if Florida International is good enough, though, to take advantage of that. Brown against Penn. Brown, didn't get it done for me yesterday, but I lean to them getting points again at Penn in that one. Harvard and Cornell, I like the over there. I mean, Harvard, they scored a bunch of points. I think defensively, I still get concerns about them. That to me is a good over. Harvard and Cornell over 150. What else have we got here? Hofstra's on just a machine right now, playing great, but I don't know if I want to lay 12.5 with them on the road. Buffalo and Akron, I kind of lean Buffalo, +9.5, +10. That's a big number to be given Buffalo in that game. Troy and Marshall. Marshall's good at home, but Troy plus those amount of points, I kind of like Troy. I like the over there. Any Marshall game, I'm interested in the over. 148. I think that's a good look here in that. All right, continuing on here. We still got a bunch. Holy fuck. Dartmouth, Columbia over the total in this. I mean, I've got like a bunch of games still I've got to go through. It's like we're not even close to the end yet. Tarleton, Sam Houston State. Sam Houston State to me is better than Tarleton State. Normally I like Tarleton State in the underdog role, but I think they're better. Western Kentucky, Rice over the total. I like that one. Western Illinois, St. Thomas over the total. Utah Valley, Seattle over the total. What else have we got here? Santa Clara, Portland over the total. And I like Santa Clara there. I mean, Portland I don't trust right now. They've had a rough season, besieged by injuries. That's been an issue for them, no doubt. What else have we got? North Texas, UTEP. UTEP's been sneaky in some of these spots, covering numbers. I don't know. North Texas just continues to roll along. I was thinking UTEP. I taught myself out of UTEP, so I pass on that. Pacific, Loyola, Marymount. Kind of lean Pacific. Loyola Marymount's had some big game, but they just got destroyed by Gonzaga. I don't know if that's going to leave them fired up or just, dispirited after just getting totally annihilated by Gonzaga. But I lean Pacific there, getting the points in that game. The Northridge team, I've been cashing some tickets with this Matadors team lately. I think CS Northridge plus 6.5 might be worth a look there against UC San Diego, the Tritons in that game, as they're called. Weber State, Portland State over the total as well. And then the added board, we've got, I'm trying to see what we've locked in here. Oh, Stonehill. What's Central Connecticut doing laying points? Central Connecticut's horrible. Stonehill actually plays hard, plays tough, plays competitive basketball, and I think they can win this game. Never mind the points. I think take Stonehill on the money line. I think they'll beat Central Connecticut State in that one. Lafayette Army. I like Army at home usually, so I lean that way. Holy Cross Colgate over the total. Queens and Kennesaw over the total. I like Queens there a little bit. Kennesaw, a huge win against Liberty. Big upset. Big letdown today, maybe for Kennesaw. So I think Queens plus the points is worth a look, and over the total against Kennesaw. Radford and Longwood, kind of like the Radford side there. The Highlanders getting plus 3.5. Gardner Webb, NC Asheville. NC Asheville, I like them as a slight home favorite there. Fairleigh Dickinson, Wagner, probably the better team. Lean to that side. Upstate, I like Upstate again. Upstate, funk you up. Upstate, funk you up. Upstate +1 against High Point. Over 149.5 as well in that game. Loyola Maryland and Navy. I almost took the over there, but I passed. What else have we got? All right, we're winding down here. There we go. We're coming to the home stretch here. Liberty, bounce back spot against Jacksonville State. Liberty could probably lay the wood to Jacksonville State. They're not going to be in a good mood after that Kennesaw game. I could see them rip-roaring past Jacksonville State in that game. Stetson, I don't like Florida Gulf Coast. This team's been too erratic. I think Stetson plus the points, not a bad spot in that game. North Alabama, Eastern Kentucky over the total. And that's it. We've reached the end, finally, of my monster main board and added board card. That was long. Holy shit. Rewind, though, if you missed anything, because that was basically my whole card in a rapid-fire 2-minute, 3-minute stretch right there. Speaking of 2-minute, 3-minute stretch, it's been longer than that since we've seen Conor Mack. Conor, perfect timing, though. Your turn to talk about all the games we haven't discussed yet that you like today.
Yeah, I'm on some totals, that's for sure. Illinois State, Indiana State, I think over 140, whatever it is.
That's one of mine. Yep.
Yeah, 144. I think that gets over the total there. Northern Iowa, Missouri State under 131. Radford, I liked Asheville in that game. I like Radford plus 3.5. I think they've been better on the road. And after that bad loss, bad shooting, I think they hang around. Liberty, Jacksonville under 129. Mississippi Valley, the ugly dog, plus 11. I think they can hang within that number there. South Florida, I'm looking at plus 4. I haven't bet that. FIU, Middle Tennessee, I'm on this over 142.5. It's one of my better looks, I think. And Old Dominion, App State, both these teams gone over the last couple. I think we get back to the under 129.5 there. That's about all of them. Yale, Princeton, I'm looking at the over a little bit there. It's 142. So that's about it.
Yeah. There's a couple of over. I like Dartmouth, Columbia, Harvard, Cornell overs in the Ivy League today. Yeah, I think both of those are probably good overs as well. So there you go. There we go. We're going to put a bow on this show and wrap things up in just a couple of minutes. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it. We'll be back with best bets coming up to wrap up the show right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Southtown 101. Manscaped.com. 20% off and free shipping using the promo code PubSports. Yeah, rewind. If you missed anything, rewind. I mean, I know we got people saying I missed the picks. Yeah, rewind. We gave you almost 90 solid minutes. We went through all the marquee games. We gave you all the games we all liked outside of those just a minute ago. So rewind. That's the advice if you missed anything from earlier. All right, best bets. Conor Mack, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
Let's go right to it. Lee's comment, App State. I got to take it. It's right under 130. Old Dominion App State under. And I'll give you one over here. FIU Middle Tennessee at 142. I think it's too low. That gets over the total. Those are the two.
All right, there we go. Best bets for Conor Mack. Cab, best bet.
No, what's not a best bet is to take my over on the mutes because that's only one. This show and last Saturday.
It's getting better.
Yeah, that's only two the last 2 weeks. But yeah, okay. One thing I didn't touch on. I know I told everyone I took the plus half a point on Duke. I meant to say this and I didn't say it. That'll be my first best bet, plus half a point in the first half on Duke. Syracuse this year, they're 0-5 against Quad 1, and they're only 2-3 against Quad 2 competition. So I know they've got a good team, and I know that they've done well, but against better competition, they've been shit this whole year. So I got Duke plus a half a point in the first half. I took Auburn -1 in the first half against Vanderbilt. And then I got Baylor +3 in the first half against Kansas. I'll keep it at those three for best bets.
All right, good stuff indeed there for Daby Cab with his best bets. And my best bet, we're going to the Big 12. We're going to a side, not a total today. There's a lot of totals I like, but they're all equal strength. And this is a side that I think is a good side. It's a cheap number. It's a Kansas State Wildcats -3.5 against Iowa State. Iowa State just can't get it done on the road. They're a different team at Bramlage, and I think they get the job done here today. Kansas State off 2 road losses in a row. Back home, great spot for K-State. Cheap price, good bet, I think. Kansas State -3.5 against Iowa State for best bet for this Saturday college basketball pop-up show. That'll wrap it up. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, Monday to Friday, we're back with Net Profit. Conor and I, Monday to Thursday. Cab and Conor, Friday. So make sure you tune in for that. And, of course, we're all back here next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We don't have many shows left. We got a month or so left of college basketball, but we got the best stuff still to come. Conference tournaments, NCAA tournament, all on the horizon. So looking forward to that. Great stuff indeed. Hit the like button on the way out. And someone asked me, if I forget, I think it was Ron, about a hockey. Just fade Nashville. I think they suck right now. So
they were good early
today. Yeah,
but I thought they were playing a little bit over their head.
Yeah, they stink right now. So I think take Florida. That's something I'll recommend on the ice today. All right, for Daby Cab, for Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow, next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for another edition of the College Basketball Pub-Up Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southtown 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2, baby.